Hello, and welcome to this Tech Talk in the CMMI Deep Dive series. In this video, you will get a brief overview of one of the newer practice areas, workforce empowerment. This practice area is part of the capability area called Managing the Workforce, which is about building overall capability through people. In addition to workforce empowerment, or WE, the other two practice areas that are included in the Managing the Workforce capability area are organizational training and enabling virtual work. Specifically, workforce empowerment is about equipping the workforce to meet its goals. Let's take a look at the intent and value of this practice area. Intent aligns the workforce to the organization's business objectives and empowers individuals and work groups to perform their roles efficiently and effectively. Value enhances the capability of the workforce to contribute to the success of the business. The statement on intent highlights the need to be clear about what is trying to be achieved. If goals or objectives are not well defined, people may be confused and pulled in different directions, adversely affecting the team's or group's ability to achieve the objectives successfully. By clarifying goals, people's capabilities can be aligned to what needs to be done. Take the example of a professional sports team. These athletes are paid well to be successful, not only to win individual games, but also to win divisions and championships. A winning basketball team is more than just a collection of individuals playing hard. On a winning team, there are skilled players in each position, and individuals are placed in the roles where they can be the most successful. The tallest player on the winning basketball team is most likely the center, as their position plays under the basket. The best dribbler and passer on the team is most likely the point guard, since that position controls the offense. The most successful professional sports teams recruit players for specific positions, and the coach is responsible for equipping the team to be the best team they can be and to win. The Workforce Empowerment Practice Area provides a collection of industry best practices to equip and align teams for success. SMART objectives, or objectives that are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound, is a necessary input for addressing this practice area. Let's take a look at the practices. Examining the practice summary table. A typical evolution in process capability is observed. Level 1 introduces a very basic level of capability. In workforce empowerment, this is about knowing what needs to be done and allocating people to do it. The Level 2 practices deal with building the basic management mechanisms, which, for workforce empowerment, is about matching the right skills to the right job, understanding what it takes to have somebody in that role, and building basic communication mechanisms. As usual, the Level 3 practices extend the reach of this basic capability to a more organizational perspective. Now, let's take a closer look at the details of the practice. One practice that is present at Level 1 in workforce empowerment is focused on the allocation of commitments to the relevant groups. The example activities begin by establishing a list of work commitments. The skills needed to fulfill these commitments and construct work groups that marry the right skills to the relevant work are then determined. At the most basic level, this is what workforce empowerment aims to achieve. If the alignment of people and commitments are correct, desired outcomes are well on their way to being achieved. The other practices at Levels 2 and 3 build upon this situation. Practice 2.1 in workforce empowerment asks that allocated work assignments are recorded and remain updated. Once again, examining the example activities is insightful. Analyze work commitments to determine the effort and skills required. The needed skills were identified, but now consider the performance goals that will be needed, as this enhances the perspective and places emphasis on identifying the necessary skill sets. Start to think about how the commitments of a given role fit with the bigger picture. The second example activity suggests recording a strategy for work assignments that may include how the specific role fits into the organizational structure and distribution of responsibilities. A simple way to think of this is the alignment of wheels on a car. If you purchase new tires for your car and have a repair shop put them on, they're probably going to recommend a wheel alignment. Some consider wheel alignment to be the most important maintenance task for a vehicle. Without proper alignment, there will be a negative impact on capability and functionality. The car may pull in one direction, the brakes may no longer perform correctly, and the tires will wear unevenly. Each of these will contribute to increased fuel consumption and safety hazards. Simply put, a vehicle is not operating at its best when the wheels are not properly aligned. If clear strategies and workforce competencies are not established, individuals and work groups will be unable to perform at their full potential. Practice 2.2 in workforce empowerment recognizes that assigning someone with the right skills to a role is not necessarily the best way to get the best from people. When adjusting to a new environment, learning how things are done here can play a significant role in how quickly someone settles in and becomes effective in a new role. A planned approach to onboarding people or transitioning between roles can be very important in reducing the disruption to new and existing staff members. This practice recognizes that transitioning people into new positions is one of many personnel changes that needs to be carefully managed. People leave roles when they retire, are promoted, take maternity leave, and more. If the change of personnel or reallocation of responsibilities is not carefully managed, knowledge can be lost, reallocation of responsibilities overlooked, and more. This practice encourages consideration of all aspects of different types of personnel changes and careful planning of the transition to reduce risks and maintain team performance. Practice 2.3 in workforce empowerment considers the most important aspects of the environment in which work groups operate. In the modern workplace, appropriate collaboration and flow of information is important to enable individuals and work groups to prioritize actions and work effectively together. Without good communication and coordination, misunderstandings may develop, which could lead to many inefficiencies. Simply having a communications plan may not be enough. After all, a communications plan has already been considered in the planning practice area. Practice 2.3 requires a more in-depth look at building the communications skills, capabilities, and infrastructure that support and promote interaction within and across groups. Level 3 practices evolve the capability of managing people. In Practice 3.1, workforce competencies when building organizational capabilities are considered. The additional required information provided for this practice states that workforce competencies involve a mixture of knowledge, skills, and process abilities. It is not sufficient to simply have learned something or even have some experience of doing something. Apply knowledge and experience to new and challenging situations. In other words, maintaining and evolving workforce competencies over time enables achievement of objectives. Practice 3.2 recognizes that communication can be the lifeblood of an organization. This practice takes the principle further by looking at how the organization is configured. The structures of the organization and how they interact should reflect the organization's values and key principles while enabling a healthy work environment. For example, if it is stated that groups should manage their own work autonomously, the organizational structures may require bureaucratic approval mechanisms. If that occurs, the structures and empowerment principles may be out of sync and work may not be as productive. This practice focuses on considering how teams are constructed, how they interact with each other, how decisions are made, and the limits of delegated authority that will enable the most productive and efficient flow of work. The focus on organizational values and norms permeates Practice 3.3 of workforce empowerment. The practice considers the development and use of a compensation strategy. Organizations often recognize they must pay the market rate for certain skill sets, which is part of the compensation strategy. However, perceptions of fairness are also important when it comes to motivating people. If a role appears undervalued by the organization, there may be issues in retaining people in that role. The compensation strategy often reflects what the organization itself values. In turn, this impacts the behaviors of individuals. An effective compensation strategy is more than just a salary scale people can climb. Promoting correct behaviors and a more effective workforce requires careful consideration and alignment to strategy. In most organizations, the most important aspect to successful business is people. This practice area identifies industry best practices for providing a foundation on which individuals and work groups thrive and operate at their best. The key aspects of the practice area can be summarized as understanding commitments and maintaining alignment of the right skill sets for the work, planning and managing staff transitions to optimize institutional knowledge of the workforce. For example, help newcomers get up to speed quicker and minimize disruptions when staff leave or change roles. Communication does not automatically happen. Plan what is communicated, as well as when and how. The way an organization is structured may affect how information is communicated. Support the workforce through communication, define competencies aligned to the capabilities of the organization, and develop compensation strategies and mechanisms that reward the correct behaviors. Thank you for joining me for this CMMI Tech Talk, looking at the Workforce Empowerment Practice Area. If you have any questions, please contact us at support.isaca.org.